Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Crisps, the podcast. I am Matthew Farrenby, and I'm here with my dad.
Sunday Farrenby.
And yeah, let's get straight into it, I guess. So I see, I think I saw this earlier too, Elon asking engineers to alter the algorithm.
Yeah.
So his posts are more visible to people.
Yeah, that was kind of very interesting to me when I saw that. The first thing that came to mind was, is that the reason why he bought Twitter? So that his own post will be much more visible? So,
yeah, I think I heard, I didn't see details, but I think I heard that there was also an employee who got fired when he refused to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he was like, Elon asked him to push his tweets out more or figure out something, and then in the end he ended up getting fired because he didn't want to do what it was asked.
You know, it's kind of interesting to me though when you hear things like this and you begin to think about people who have whether you can call it the clout or who have the means to do whatever. Like Elon, has a lot of money. Bought Twitter for $44 billion,
Yeah.
and then just trying to shape things. From the moment he took over, one of the things that have occurred to me is that the things that he said he wanted Twitter to be, is not actually what he is trying to make it to be.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we kind of talked about this was the whole free speech thing, and then even when that happened, he started banning people for certain things, and so yeah, like you said, it seems like his whole reasoning for buying Twitter initially is just a facade in a way. He was just like, just wanted to own.
It looks like, he wants to own it, or he wants to control maybe what he can say, because it's what? Is it up to a year yet? I don't think it's up to a year that they finalized the sale. So it's not up to a year. And now he's already worried about how much exposure his own tweets are getting. He thinks they are not getting enough exposure. So I'm paying the engineers. Why not write algorithm to make sure that they push my posts out to be much more visible.
I also did see something that there was, I don't know if it was some type of error or bug with Twitter, that his posts weren't getting as much visibility as they were before. Okay. So I think that's what sparked it. But even then, it's like, why are you so concerned about your tweets being seen by so many people?
Okay, so when you say his posts were not getting as much visibility as before because of the bug, was the bug only affecting his own tweet, or was that general?
I don't know exactly the details of it. That's just like kind of what I saw when I looked into it. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure. He was just saying that all his followers weren't seeing the tweets as they were before.
Yeah.
So
my guess would be that if there's something in the algorithm that is doing that, it's most likely because it's affecting so many other people's tweets the same way. Mm-hmm. But guess what? He owns Twitter now, so he may be able to pinpoint, his own visibility going down and decide to do something about it. That's interesting.
And going off of that, I just heard that Meta, aka Facebook, just introduced like a similar verification process as Twitter. So it's going to be a paid monthly subscription. It's like,
I saw that too.
Something like $9.99 on the desktop version, and then like $14.99 for the mobile version.
Oh, really?
Something like that.
They want a tier pricing?
Yeah, so if you use it on like your computer, it's a little bit cheaper than using it on your phone, which
because most people use it on their phone.
Yeah.
So they want to make much more money from there. What I don't understand is this is supposed to be like the blue check mark in Twitter?
Yeah, so I think it also gives you like a blue check mark to show that you're verified, and you have to like submit the government ID and all this stuff.
Did Facebook have that before? Or
I think they have it for some pages. I've seen the verification symbol for like bigger like commercial or products or like companies,
but not for people.
But not for individuals. I don't think so. It's usually like celebrities or companies that have that.
We'll see if people will pay for that.
Yeah, I saw the post by Facebook when they first put it out, and then someone commented, and it had like thousands of likes. And it was like, something like this should already be included within Facebook. We shouldn't have to pay for it. And then I saw Mark Zuckerberg reply to it, and he said, well, something like this, the cost for that is more expensive than the cost for just like the regular tier free membership or something.
What cost is one of the things that gets me with some of these? Well, like you and I are an engineer, so we have maybe some kind of understanding of how some of these things work. It's like when years ago before smartphone became a thing, when phone service providers like AT&T was the big long distance provider, especially in the United States at that time, before they broke it up into what they call baby bells. You have Southwestern Bell and some of those Singular Wireless. All of those came out of the breakup of AT&T. But one of the things that I remember now when you said that is the fact that then AT&T would charge for service, and then they started charging for caller ID, call waiting and things like that. Meanwhile, the technology is already there. It's not like they are just blocking it. They are blocking it. So it's not like they are committing any more resources, or they are doing any more thing to make it available. They are just trying to get a premium by charging extra for it. So when Zuckerberg is talking about this blue checkmark is supposed to be some premium thing, I don't know. I guess maybe they do some background checks. I don't know.
Yeah, I know you have to submit a government ID and all that stuff to verify that it's actually you.
Yeah.
And they said that there's some added security features, I guess, which I don't really know what.
Well, when Elon Musk took over Twitter a few months ago, and that checkmark thing, he started monetizing it, and people are now paying for it. I thought very quickly people were able to pay the $8 and build fake verified accounts.
Yeah, because once you're verified, at least with Twitter initially, you could change your name to whatever you wanted and pretend to be someone else, which then it was more confusing because you could change your name to like a brand that's already established, and then people would get confused if you don't look closely enough at the name and get confused by who's who. So.
Oh, I remember some of the things that happened when there was it an account? Eli Lilly account.
Yeah.
It's not truly Eli Lilly.
Yeah, I saw that. That was the bigger one.
Yeah, that was a big one. They said they were going to give out free
insulin, I think.
Free insulin or something like that. And that had a lot of financial implications. Because,
it affected their stock.
Yeah, their stock went down drastically. I remember another one where an account, a Pepsi Cola account, also posted and said, Coca-Cola is better.
Oh.
So those are the kind of things that when you do things like this, you are going to have people who will take advantage and who will try to exploit whatever it is, just to either to prove a point or to cause havoc. It's interesting. Well, the main thing I want us to discuss and explore today is about feedback. I've been thinking about this for a while. Either the way we give or receive feedback, more in the receiving side of it, feedback or advice, whether it's personal or professional. And one of the things that is so apparent to me, that's so clear, is that generally we tend to resist it. We don't want someone telling us areas we can do better. Yeah, we don't want someone, no matter who they are. So that's what I want us to talk about. So what's driving that? What do you think is the reason why we tend to, human beings in general, we tend to resist people giving us advice, or in other ways, pointing out areas where we can be better?
Yeah, I think when you say feedback, you're usually referring to more so negative feedback, but it could be positive.
Yeah.
But I think what comes to mind initially is that it points out a little bit our lack of self-awareness, just because you can only be so self-aware. And so when someone's giving you feedback or telling you something that you're doing wrong or that comes across a certain way, that initial response is like, oh, what? I mean, I didn't think I was doing that, or didn't realize what you're doing.
For me, it seems more like it's something that it's a defensive mechanism. When feedback comes, we feel attacked.
Yeah,
I think that's basically what it is. We feel that we are being attacked, so we try to defend ourselves. And one of the things I've noticed, in general, in myself, in many other people, is that it doesn't even matter whether the feedback is valid or not. We just take a defensive position because we feel attacked, and depending on the person's personality, depending on some other things around, their backgrounds, their beliefs, their fears, all of those things, that could fit into how they respond. They could take it, just quietly, but they may be fuming inside. Other people may lash out, they may react, and very few people, and usually those who have taken the time to work on this, are the ones that you will see that they may be much more contemplative. They will think about it, and they may be able to receive it with some grace. But for me, I just think it comes across as an attack.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And that also shows that there's some responsibility on the giver of the feedback, of the constructive feedback, to look into how do we give it? How do we bring it across so that it does not seem, or it doesn't feel like an attack on the person? So, but that's the general basic premise of it. I want us to take it into individual scenarios. The first of all, maybe, have you seen examples in the workplace where, I guess people, it doesn't bode well for your career if you don't take feedback very well.
Well, in the workplace specifically, there's always levels of authority. So feedback, I feel like it's usually coming up downwards a lot of times. So whether you like it or not, you usually have to receive that well, at least show that you receiving it well, even though internally you might not be.
Yeah.
Just because like if you react certain ways, that could cost you your job.
Yeah, you get all kind of labels about not being coachable. That's the workplace term. You are not coachable if you do not see what is being said. But one of the things that I have actually learned over the years is that the end of year appraisal, the time of performance management appraisal, which most companies do, at least that I know of, most companies do at the end of the year. Some do it now mid-year at the end of the year. Seems to be the most stressful time for people, for employees, and for their managers. Because most times the employee will think, okay, my manager will just lay out all these things that I've not done well, and the manager will think, well, even if I say something about what's not going well, it may be met with being defensive or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a time of stress for both sides, and it seems we have not done a good job to figure out a way to make sure that that's not the case at that time of the year. But I think one of the things we can do is to make sure that it's an ongoing thing, first of all.
Yeah.
It's ongoing. So at the end of the year, if your manager comes out and say, this is an area of opportunity for you, that should not be the first time you are hearing that. Which, at least when I was still in the corporate world, that was the tendency most of the time. You don't hear anything. It almost seems like the managers have that ace in their pocket. Like, okay, I'm holding on to this until the end of the year. I'm going to get you
Yeah.
at the end of the year. But usually these days, at least from what I'm hearing and what should be happening, is almost on a daily or weekly basis, if opportunities are seen, they should be communicated and discussed. So that even if it comes up later at the end of the year during performance management, it's not something that's a surprise to the person, because it's been discussed before. So, but like you're saying, that's in the workplace. In the workplace, because of the hierarchy of authority from the boss to the people they are leading, you may not like it, but you take it anyway, and you try to respond to it positively, even if it's grudgingly. You try to respond to it, but where you see a lot of problems on the personal side, right? Not in the professional context. So, what example of something in the personal side of it where people are not taking feedback very well have you seen?
I feel like it's not so much in the personal side. It's more in the corporate side that I would say would be more of an issue.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, if it's personal, if you have a relationship with someone enough that you're able to give them feedback, usually, I mean, obviously it's always how you say it that matters.
Yeah.
But if you know someone well enough, you're usually going to say it in a way that they receive it in not the worst way. But I feel like in the corporate side, kind of like we said, there's those like hidden emotions that tend to fester, especially when you say like when there's no feedback until like the end of the year, and then all of a sudden there's an overwhelming amount of feedback sometimes. I think when there's not enough communication, that's where the issue usually stems from.
Yeah,
So
I agree. Okay, let's look at when I was talking about on the personal side, let's look at parents of teenagers, for example. Now, everybody knows that the teenage years are always challenging for both parents and the teenagers, where that's the time of their life when the people are transitioning from being children to adults. They are trying to find their feet. They are trying to find their own way. They are trying to do things. Try to, if I can use the term, break off the shackles of their parents, the shackles that has held them down. So they tend to get into what parents would call rebellion, because you just do whatever you want to do. They will not want to take advice from their parents. They don't want to listen, even when some of those advice will be good for them. So, what do you think about that one?
I think it's almost similar to the workplace in that there's still like a level of authority, because it's like the parents are the ones in authority and trying to guide the kid to do something they feel should be right, or give them feedback on what they're not doing correctly. So there's like the similarities in that.
Well, what now happens? What happens when those teenagers become adults? Now you can say their parents have no authority over them anymore. And so what happens when the parents now come with feedback, or come with, this is what you should do, or this is how you should do it?
Well, I feel like adult children receive feedback better than teenage children, though.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, adult children, when you're an adult, obviously you can do what you want. It's still the same
only
level.
Advice, and that's the thing. The feedback kind of become advice.
Yeah.
If it's played well when you're an adult. Yeah.
So I think with that, when you're a teenager, you feel like basically you don't have a choice. So that can cause you to react more extremely in certain scenarios. Whereas when you're an adult, like, you can still kind of do whatever you want anyway. So it's, I don't know, reactions might not always be as extreme.
Yeah, but what about resentments? Now you're talking about, let's stick with the adults. What about resentments? And it could be on either side. It could be on the side of the adult children because they feel my parent is always trying to tell me stuff. They're always trying to control my life, for example. Maybe one of the times has been they want to try to control me. And the constant pushback from the adult children eventually could lead to resentment, either from their side or from the side of the parents. Or don't you think so?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's specific to just like the parent-kid relationship, though. It's still like if you have a friend who's like you feel like is constantly pointing stuff out that maybe you're doing wrong, you're gonna form some sort of resentment towards them if you feel like that's constantly being something that's being brought up, and then that could lead to the same resentment. And then with a friend, it's either you can just cut them off, whereas with parents, you're still going to be family whether you like it or not. Yeah. So,
well, that's the thing. So when something like that happens with parents and with adult children, then what do you do?
I think it's definitely on both sides. So you just have to realize, one, if you're the parent, figure out how you're delivering that and see if there's a better way you can deliver that. And then if you're the child, also try to see it from their perspective too, and try to realize, again, know that you can only be so self-aware, so you can only know so much. So
that's good, but how easy is it to do that?
Yeah, I mean, neither one is easy in the moment. No,
it's not, because one of the things I've realized, and I've explored this in some of my emotional intelligence classes, is that because of the past, and I've seen it happen a lot, because of the past. In fact, I've seen instances where adult children still hold on to some resentment, maybe during their teenage years, or maybe during their childhood years, when the parents have so much control over them that they did not have. Now, when they are older and they feel I can do whatever I want now, even if, and I've seen this, even if the parents are not giving them feedback or giving them advice as frequently as you're saying, even the few instances that it comes up, the resentment built up from the past is what they use to respond. You understand what I mean? Yeah. They're using that to respond instead of looking, just like you're saying, instead of considering at the moment, considering, okay, is there value in what they are telling me? Is there some nuggets that I can get? Yeah. I can get from it, and that's one of the things that for me that I have tried, at least for me, when I receive feedback, I've tried over the years. I learned that in the workplace. I used not to be very, very good at receiving feedback until I realized I begin to consciously think that, okay, most people giving you constructive feedback or giving you advice, they are not trying to tear you down. They are not trying to bring you down, which for people on the other end who are receiving it, that's in the moment, that's what it comes across. We talk about it feels like being attacked. So when I begin to think that these people are trying to help me, they're trying to help me. Yes, it may come in ways I don't like. It may come in the ways that that could have been better. But when I realize that their main intention is not to bring me down, it's not to belittle me. Their goal is to either make me better or to make me see where there are roadblocks or stumbling blocks, so that I can avoid mistakes that maybe they have seen that they have made because they are older, things like that, or they have more experience in a particular area. When, at least for me, when I begin to think about it that way, and here's the thing, when I say think about it that way, it's not just in the moment, because in the moment when those, stingy, when I say stingy is something that stings. No, not stingy is not the right word, but something that stings, when those stingy advice or feedback comes in, it's not in that moment. Because in that moment, it's your automatic reaction about, I don't like this. That's the way we react. It's how over time we work on ourselves to make sure that we are much more receptive to those feedback when they come. It's not at the point, we cannot work on it at the point when it's coming. We have to continually work on it because usually those responses are automatic when they happen. And automatic responses like that from the part of our brain that is generating it, we are not consciously doing them. It just happens. So the way to try to prevent that is to constantly work on it. And it starts in our thinking, in our thoughts. So constantly work on it. If I remind myself daily that, okay, I may get feedback today that I don't like, but I need to remind myself now when I'm thinking rationally, even before the feedback comes, that, you know what, people that are going to give me feedback, they probably know me, they probably love me, they probably want the best for me. That's the reason they are giving me this feedback. They're not doing it to bring me down, to put me down. So if I make a conscious effort to think about that on a daily basis, it has to be conscious. That is where we begin to get some victory over this. And the funny thing is that what I just described is the same thing that we need for many of the things that generate negative emotions in us. Anything that we see that either annoys you or brings fear or makes you sad or something, it's basically the same thing because it's automatic. It's automatic. We are not thinking through the situation and deciding, okay, I want to get angry because I have seen this. No. Usually when you see something that makes you angry, it's immediate. It's immediate. You are not thinking through it. And that process I described about daily working on our mind, on our thinking, I think is what can help us get there.
Yeah, and coming back to what I kind of mentioned before, I don't think it's either that one is easier, whether it be the workplace or personal. I think whenever there's that disbalance of authority, that's what makes it tougher. So whether it's like parent to kid or boss to coworker, whenever you feel like someone in authority is pointing out something that you're not doing right or you need to improve on, I think that's where it makes it tougher. That's why, like, your parent could say something and then your friend say the same thing and you receive it better from your friend.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. Exactly.
And that's exactly the point I was trying to make earlier. You receive better from your friends, not from your parents. Why? Most likely because of some of the resentment built previously.
Yeah, but even if you don't have resentment previously, like if you're already a kid,
you're
still probably going to receive it better from a friend who's like on kind of equal playing field than a parent who's you already see as someone in authority who kind of looks out for you when they're pointing something out. I feel like it triggers more than someone you have a friendship with.
I agree. Now, actually, that brings us to the next thing I actually want us to talk about. So if feedback or advice like that, if we are more amenable to it when it's coming from your friends, from your peers, why does it seem like, and this is just observation on my part, I've not done any research to validate this, why does it seem like maybe, I don't know, Gen Y, millennials, why does it seem like some of the younger generation, we tend to shy away from giving those feedback to our friends? We don't want to do it. And that's what I've seen. We are hesitant.
I think that we're probably still afraid of the reaction because it can be so extreme sometimes, and we know how it feels that we kind of want to avoid that and instead just say nothing. So I think it's like trying to avoid the extreme reaction, which can almost sometimes be more of a detriment than not saying anything at all.
But is that a better? Do you think that's a better approach, not to say something?
I don't think it's a better approach, but I definitely think there's an equal middle ground of being able to say something, but not. Again, it comes back to how you communicate it. To being able to say something, but also not feel like you're frequently pointing out someone's flaws all the time or something like that.
It's the same along the same line we're talking about friends and siblings. It's similar to siblings. Also, I've also seen siblings being hesitant to hold their own siblings accountable. To say, that's not what we do, or why are you doing that, or something like that.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to also the resentment he came in, because with siblings, unless you're twins, there's still a little bit of disbalance with the authority in a sense. So if you're older and you're trying to tell your younger sibling what to do, you don't want to come across as like the parent, because you know how it feels. So there's always that still that disbalance. So I think that's one of the reasons.
So what about the other way? What about the younger sibling to the older? Is there a hesitant there also because of the what you call the power imbalance? That
I think there is, but it's more so for the older person. It can be like, who are you to tell me what to do just because they're younger, in a sense. Or how much life have you lived to tell me what to? I don't know, but I'm just all saying stuff that could come to mind when you're getting feedback from that other direction. So, but
that's the point though, because see, to me, no one knows everything. No one has a 360-degree vision. We all have blind spots. I can't see the back of my head, for example. I don't have any eye over there, so I can't see the back of my head. I need people who can see the back of my head, who can see my blind spots, to be able to point it out. And when I realized that, okay, people are pointing out my blind spots, or they are pointing out behaviors that most times we are behaving one way, we don't know how it comes across. When somebody is trying to tell us, this is how this behavior come across, how well do we receive that? And I think whether it's from the parent to the children, or from the boss to the people who are working for the boss, or the other way, I think we should be able to do that. I think actually it shows. It shows courage. It shows character. If somebody can do that, if a younger sibling can tell their older sibling, or find a way, if an employee can give feedback to their manager and say, this is what I see. But like you said, you want to be careful. Yeah. How you do that, how that comes across. But I think it's something that needs to be done. It's something that everybody needs to see, because most of the time we don't see how we come across. We do not see how we come across when we do some things. We don't know how it appears to other people. We may feel justified. It may be because you are angry in the moment or something, but that may come across. The behavior that you exhibit in your anger may come across differently to different people. So when people are telling you, when you do this is how I see it, it's good for us to at least to pay attention. Yeah. To be able to see, because guess what? We are not meant to do life alone. Nobody is meant to just be alone in their own world and do their own thing. You cannot do that. Yeah. No, if you do that, you can't even exist, because if that's what you want to do, you probably won't have a job. Nobody will employ you. And if you think, okay, I'm going to be Bill Gates and create my own thing, or Mark Zuckerberg or something, you still need people. Even if you are the creator of whatever it is, you still need people who will believe in that vision, people who will buy your product, buy your service. So you still have to connect with people. You still have to relate to people. And if we are not able to do that, then it's we can't really be successful. We can't be successful in life. So for me, that's one of the things I think about, that nobody lives in isolation. We all need one another. No, we are not meant to do life alone. So we need ourselves, and part of doing life alone is being able to listen and be able to consider when people tell us blind spots. Blind spot areas in our lives that we cannot see, that we are not able to understand how it's coming across. when we behave in particular ways. So
yeah, and I think a few things, I guess, kind of in closing that came to mind when you said that is a couple things for the person giving the feedback, making sure, I think, you're not always giving negative feedback, being intentional about giving positive feedback as well, but also doing your best to package it in a way that can be well received as well. Just making sure you're communicating well, communicating in a way that they can see it from your perspective. And then kind of like you said before, the person receiving that feedback is, you have to be more intentional about beforehand, like, hey, whenever I receive feedback, I need to make sure I take time to like stop and then try to receive that in a way that's you can implement or see it from their perspective as well. So
well, I hope our listeners get something out of this out of this discussion today, and as we continue to grow, as we continue to get better, we can only get better if we choose to get better. That's my thought. And it's, you mentioned self-awareness earlier, is being self-aware about some of these things that, I have blind spots. I may not.
Basically being self-aware to the point that you're knowing you can only be so self-aware, I guess.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah. I guess so. So I know that I have blind spots. I know that sometimes I don't. Most times, actually, I may not see how my behavior comes across to other people because I cannot have that out-of-body experience, to come out of my own body to observe my own behavior from the other side. That's never going to happen. Other people observing and experiencing those behaviors, they are the one that will be able to tell us how that behavior comes across. And we have to be willing to be able to receive that. And see that what they are saying to us is not to bring us down, is to make us better. But you brought out a very important point at the end about not every time that you are giving feedback is something that is negative, that is constructive feedback. Those kudos, pat on the back, and things like that. And I'll be honest with you. You probably know this. Since you've known me all your life, that for me personally, and I'm talking about me, for me personally, I think it's a personality trait that I realized, I don't know, many years ago that I've been working on. But I realized that it works well for me. Because it works for me, so it's natural for me to do it. I tend to critique a lot of things I do for myself. That's my internal monologue. When I'm doing something, I'm always critiquing, is it good enough? Is it good enough? Can I make it better? So that's always what I'm thinking. Can I make this thing better? Is it good enough? So because that's, for me, what drives me. What drives me, which is good for me. It's good for me. It drives me. It helps me to be successful in so many areas. It drives me to look at things that other people may overlook. Now, because I have that tendency of doing that to myself, I discovered I have that tendency to do that to other people also. So every time I'm asking, can you do better? This is not good enough. Do better, and things like that. Because that's my own way of motivating myself to excellence. Always doing better. And because it works for me unconsciously, what we think works for us, we think works for other people.
Yeah, we hold people to the same standard we hold ourselves a lot of times.
Exactly. But like you said, even though that works for me, and I'm okay with it, because I'm the one critiquing myself all the time, but it becomes a problem when you are critiquing somebody also constantly like that, because all that comes across to that person is that maybe I'm not good enough, or I can't do any better, or something like that. And for me, that was a realization that something that occurred to me, I don't know how many years ago, that I continually work on. It's because my natural bent is to, once again, do that critique in my own head and for other people, for whoever is around me. So for me, that's an area of this that I continually work on. And that has helped me to be much more receptive to feedback, because the truth is that I think most cases I'm actually much more harder on myself than people are harder on me. But the other side of that, the flip side of that, is that I also tend to be much more harder on people than they are much harder on themselves most of the time. And the way that comes across is, maybe like what we call resentment earlier, that, this is coming too much, and just resist it. So for someone like me, then I need to watch it. I need I need that self-awareness to be able to to hold my feedback sometimes, and also to find opportunities. Now you are saying to find opportunities to validate something good that people are doing. You are doing well in this area. You are excelling in this area and things like that. And I've tried to do that. It's difficult because of the kind of person I am. It's difficult for me, but that's some of the areas that I continually work on. So
yeah, I think with everything, this takes this level of intentionality, because we by default we're not people who want to improve.
Yeah.
So it just takes being purposeful in that way. Anything else we want to touch on?
I think that's it for today. Unless you have anything else you want to add.
No, I think that's it. Well, guys, this has been another episode of Crisp, the podcast. Make sure to give us a like on YouTube and subscribe, review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.